Hey everyone, in this next video we'll start creating our sports science dashboard within Power BI. Just a quick overview of what we've done so far. We made this Boston All-Stars workspace, and then within this workspace we have 4 different data flows: body weights, GPS data, performance data, and our roster. All that data is housed within Microsoft Teams. In our practice folder, catapult data is all the catapult files exported, and then data has our 3 Excel files with the rest of it. So to get started, we're going to open up Power BI Desktop, and we're just going to start with a blank report. Now once we get in here, we're going to need to pull all of our data from our data flows housed in that workspace. So we're going to select Get Data, Data Flows. We're going to go to our workspace and select all the tables for this dashboard. We'll use everything here, load it in. As always, we can go and transform the data whenever. Depending on how much data you have, this may take a while to load. We don't have too much, so this should be pretty quick. And then once it loads in, it should pop up over here on the right. We have our body weight, counter movement jump. Query is our GPS data, so I'm gonna rename that right now. Our sample roster, our sprint data, and then our 5-10-5 data. Within this home page of Power BI Desktop, we have 3 different views: the report view, the table view, and the model view. The table view is exactly that. We can go in and view it as a table, but we can also modify the data, and I'm going to do that really quickly here. I'm just going to take all of the dates and make them all short dates. And one more here. Good, cool. So we can go in and modify all the data as we need to. We can also change some of the data types. So image URL specifically is one that we want to go into, data category, and just select image URL. It may read it automatically, but just another step to make sure down the line. Next view, model view. Here we show our relationships between our tables. So automatically Power BI recognized 4 different relationships, and that is the full name column in all of these tables. It did not recognize anything in GPS data, and that's because there's no full name column, it's player name. So we'll manually connect these ourselves by doing that. Manage relationship, new relationships, and as you can see, just full name from each of these tables to sample roster full name. New relationship, GPS data, it was player name to our sample roster full name. Make this active, and then it'll set it up automatically to save. If there's an error, it will tell you there. But now, as we can see, all 5 of these tables are connected to our sample roster. So no matter what our visual we're creating is, we can use this full name, and it's going to automatically pull and connect everything with the full names in the rest of these tables. So from here, we're good to start building our dashboard. Just kind of a quick overview of what I plan to do with this. Maybe just in this video are 3 very simple ones. We're going to do a team GPS report with just a couple slicers and some cars and a team table. Another one of more of a bar chart, line chart, column chart visual of just a few different metrics. And then we'll do a very, very simple player performance report that has a headshot. So we'll get to see that in this video. And then just some simple charts as well. In future videos, we'll get a little more creative with the visuals, using different functions, different measures to create just more complex visualizations with our data. But this is the plan for these videos, and then whatever really comes to mind will change as we go. I'm going to try and make this visually appealing too as we go, but I won't take up too much time on making it look nice. So just to start, I'm going to add in a quick background of the Boston skyline. and we're going to make it fit the canvas. I'm going to go 80% here. Next thing we're going to add, just another visual really quickly, insert image. We use this logo kind of as our team logo. And then we'll get started here by adding a text box. Boston All-Stars. We'll call this GPS report. Going to kind of make this a header. Once again, not too overly concerned with visuals. You'll find what you want to do and build. You can get very creative within Power BI. I'm just going to set this up so that you get the hang of kind of what you're doing and how to build things. So from here, kind of got our layout of our plan. Now we're going to start building it. So we'll start with adding a slicer. And then this slicer will be our GPS activity name. As we go, I'm going to mess around with this. So we're going to go to a drop down, single select slicer. Going to change the values a little bit. And we'll change the header a little bit as well. Going to add transparency to it. We'll go 50. A border as well. I'm just going to try and keep this standard across the board with everything I create today. So we have an activity name slicer within it, all of our activities. I'm going to copy and paste this right next to it, and then just remove activity name from the field, and I'm going to add in the period name. Now I'm not going to mess too much with the interactions with this specific report right now, but if every single activity will have a session period name, but within certain activities there are going to be specific period names that aren't in others. So if we select those period names, then it's going to reverse slice backwards, and it's only going to show the activity name that has those period names. So no matter what, I'm going to have to select session for this video to go back and change this. In future videos, I'll cover how to make it so one's not dependent on the other, but that's the way we're going to keep it for now. From here, I'm going to add some team average cards across the board here. These are just going to be some important metrics. So I'll start with distance. We'll go average distance. Going to set this up very similar to the other. So 50% visual border. 2 and 2. We'll add a shadow here. And then ideally 4 of these should fit across. I'm going to make it just a little smaller. Copy, paste. Next one we're going to do is player load. Average here. We'll do 2 more. We'll go high speed distance over 80%. Got to remove that first. We'll do the average here. And then we'll go 1 more. And we'll do efforts over 80% on this one. So for each activity, it'll display our team averages of these metrics. Now underneath it, I'm just going to set up a table. Very, very simple visual. And then within this table, I'm going to have the player name. And now we connected everything, so I can technically use sample roster, and I can use the full name for this. We're going to go these 4 metrics, and then we're just going to grab a handful just for the visual sake. So total distance, total player load, high speed distance, efforts over 80. Then we'll add in a few more. We'll do max velocity, percent of max velocity, and we'll go XLs and decels. We'll just do high XLs and decels for this table. we'll leave it as that. Just to change how this looks, we can change the names of the columns right here. For max velocity, I always like to select max no matter what, instead of having it be the sum, depending on the periods and what how the data pulls. Percent of max velocity, you can technically do the same thing. There we go. Last one here, high XLs, decels, and then I just want to make this table look a little nicer as well. So same idea. We'll go 50% transparency, add a border to it, a shadow, and then we'll make the actual values within the table a bit bigger. So there. I want the column headers to bold. But then as well, I'll also just go in and do the values for each column really quickly. There are other ways to do this. This is just my quick way of doing it. I think I got everything. Not too concerned about the name. But just a quick look. Forgot to do the totals. Don't really need the totals. I'm going to leave them in there. Actually, I'm not, just because I don't want to take that step away. Cool. But within each activity, we have the team averages. We can sort the table any way we want. We can set up conditional formatting if we want. We won't do all that, but it's very, very simple. All you got to do is select the specific field you want, conditional format, and then you can change background color, the actual font. You can set different icons, all if these are over or under a certain number or percent. You can get really creative with it. For the sake of just time in this video, I'm not going to. But then within it, you can also select the periods. Next one we're going to build another GPS report, more visual. Real quick, I'm just going to name this GPS report. And then I'm actually going to duplicate it just to save time. So I kind of have the bones, I have the background, I have some slicers. Going to leave these same slicers here. Get rid of all the cards except one. Now this first piece, we'll do a column chart. We're going to add the player name in. And then we'll add some data labels, just to make it a little more visually appealing. I know these are the player names, so I'm going to get rid of the x-axis title, and I know this is distance, so I'm also going to get rid of the y-axis title. And then I can go in, I can also just change this to be distance as well. Right now it's still pulling the averages from each period. Or it's pulling the averages, but we only have one period selected. So I can go in and change some. It's really not going to change the visual for this specific scenario too much. But I'm okay with this visual. I'm going to get rid of the player name at the end of the title. And then from here, I'm just going to take this same thing, copy, paste, move it over, and I'm just going to change out the metric. Once you start building stuff, it gets pretty easy to just copy and move things around if you're just trying to create visuals with your data. Gonna follow the same step here, copy, paste. And just to make this different, I'm gonna use a different type of chart. Really doesn't matter for this scenario. And I'm going to use, let's go max velocity here. So just players' top speeds. We'll use the max. And I just gotta change the title once again. Max velocity, and then I'll do one more here, and this last one we'll do high XLs and decels. Why not? And I'll leave it the same. I'll just do another line. Cool part in some of these reports, Gonna rename this real quick. You can select a specific person in any of these charts and it'll highlight that person throughout the rest of it. So if I want to look at just David Ortiz, it'll highlight that and then it'll show me David's max V and his accels and decels. Forgot to change that one as well. Hi. I can unclick it, but kind of done here. Very similar. We've got a GPS report, another one here. Just more visual, better for the eye, sometimes easier to just view the data. And then last one in this video, we're going to create a player performance report. With the slicer, this is where we'll use the headshot, and then we'll just get a few metric charts, nothing too specific here. Once again, going to duplicate this because I like the bones of it. I'm going to remove all the charts except one, and then going to remove all the slicers except one. So now this is going to be a player report, not GPS related. We're going to just do something a little different on this one. We're going to change this slicer to be full name. Our roster's right here, perfect. And then we're going to change this, or underneath this slicer, we're going to set it up to have the player's headshot. How I like to go about this, multiple ways, but I like to use a visual. And the one I like to use is called Simple Image. All I got to do is add that to this report. Once I'm done there, I can select this. I'll set it up to be right under the name. And then for this, I'm going to bring in that image URL. So now it should connect for each player, that headshot link. And if we go to Tom Brady, perfect, cool. Going to set this up the same as the rest. So we're going to go 50 transparency, same border, same shadow. We're not going to fit. We're going to leave it normal, leave it top center. So really not too concerned with how the image came out. Some of these are different sizes, but all good there. Cool. So next, didn't mean to delete that. We're going to take this and let's say we really prioritize, I don't know, just tracking player body weight, and we'll make that kind of the main piece of this. We'll set that up here. So body weights, all we need is the date and the body weight. However, I don't want the date to be displayed like this. So I'm going to select this, and instead of date hierarchy, I'm going to select date. I'm okay with sum of body weight because we only got one for each of these days. However, I don't really like the look of this for body weight. I'm going to go line chart. And then another thing we can change within this specific visual is instead of like the month to month with the body weights and dates kind of just plopped where they are, we can go in and we can change the x-axis to be categorical. So here then we have every single body weight. You can change these, you can mess around with things. I actually don't love this, so I'm just going to leave it how it was, the continuous. And it doesn't have a data label for every body weight, which I'm okay with. Going to go in here, just going to change the name of this, body weight. Yeah, tough typing day. And from here, copy and paste. What I find to be very easy. And on this bottom part, we'll just display 3 different performance metrics. First one we're going to do is our counter movement jump. And we're just going to use jump height for this. So test date, jump height, and then same thing with the body weight date. We're going to click test date. And then with this, we want to just look at the max jump for each day. We'll select maximum. And then this one, we can check out how it looks different and how it doesn't. So for this one, I like the short dates better. So I'm going to leave it like this. Take this, copy, paste. Looks like we might be tight to get 3 in, so before that I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. Copy, paste, and there we go. Next one we want to look at is our sprint data. Select the sprint, date, and then as we did earlier, total. And I'm going to go x-axis, same thing. And since it's a sprint, we want the minimum value for each. And then we want the minimum value to show as higher. So for this, I'm going to go in here. We're going to select the y-axis, and we're going to select invert range. So now it shows the lower time, which is better, faster time being higher. Going to go in, change the name of this to be, I'm just going to call it sprint. I'm just going to call this jump. And then last one we're going to add is our 5-10-5 test. So date, total, same steps, minimum's better, perfect. So as we go through this player performance report, nothing too crazy, just visualizing the data we already have and making it look nice. That's what Power BI can be very useful for. You can also get very creative, which we'll do in future videos with some different metrics. But right now we have three different pages, 3 different reports, all with different visuals on them. And then in the future, we'll dive a little bit deeper into some more visuals and some functions and measures we can use to pull and get a little bit more out of our data. Say, for example, we are actually done with this and this is all we want to create. I'm just going to go ahead and show a few more steps. If we were done with this, I'm just going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to keep this quick. I'm just going to save this on my desktop. So say we have this saved, but we're actually done creating this. How we would go about publishing it would be File, Publish, Publish to Power BI. I can select this. Success, and then I can go back, refresh this page, and my report is published. Now it automatically creates a semantic model. So if we view this differently, how our whole dashboard is set up is either our SharePoint folder or our Excel workbooks, our data flows, and then as you build the report and publish it, it automatically creates the model for you. And now this would be ready to be shared with anyone. So I can manage the access of this workspace. I can add people to the workspace and set certain permissions. I can also go into the report and share the report that way. But how it would look on this web app is just like this. So we have our 3 different pages. And then within this, we can select the different activities and basically look at everything we created. So more, like I said, just the visual piece, nothing too complex with these visuals, but just an easy visual. Tom Brady's jump went down, his sprint got slower, but his change of direction improved a little bit. Body weight stayed pretty consistent. So just good visuals to look at. Zdeno Chara is jumping through the roof. But we'll create a little bit more in future videos as well.